Welcome to Royal Rebounds TV with Calvin and Barry. Just two crazy fans of the Sacramento Kings, and they sharing their opinion. So be sure that you subscribe. It's for the fans, by the fans. Whether you chilling on the couch or wilding in the stands. For laid back conversations about the Kings, subscribe here. Staying down until we come up thinking this gonna be our year. We're here drinking beer, talking about the Kings. Be sure you subscribe so you can hear that bell ring. Yeah.
What's up, Kings fans? Welcome back to Royal Rebounds, the Sacramento Kings YouTube channel for fans, by fans. If you're a Kings fan, make sure you smash up that like button down below and please consider subscribing to the channel. Calvin, it's official. The Kings lose tonight. They are tied with the Lakers now, 0-4. It's quite unfortunate. But Calvin, happy Thursday. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing fine, Barry. I'd be better if the Kings picked up a victory tonight. It was a tough game. I hear you cracking a beer there. Yep, everybody is probably in the same boat right now. What's up to everybody in the chat? How you guys doing?
Yeah, I'm going for as many beers tonight as the Kings have losses. So this is number 3. I get one more, I guess. I think I'm going to make that a rule where I'm allowed to have as many beers as the Kings have losses. We'll go from there. It might get kind of crazy.
Late season games could get pretty interesting, but
yeah. So it's official. Kings lose tonight, 125-110. Desmond Bane killed it for the Grizzlies tonight. 31 points for him, 27 points for De'Aaron Fox. We got to see Keegan Murray start tonight. His first start officially in an NBA game or a regular season NBA game. 39 minutes for him. 7 of 15 shooting from the field. 18 points. 7 rebounds. I want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat. I see Steven in here, Sass, the Bouncer, JN, PK, Ian. What is up, everybody? Welcome in. Thank you all for joining us. And yeah, hopefully you're having a much better night than the Sacramento Kings. But Calvin, I'm seeing some stuff here in the chat about you potentially shaving your head. Is that on the table here?
well, I think the official bet still stands. If the Kings end up with the 5th seed, I am supposed to shave my head. I will honor that, absolutely. I saw somebody else, I think it was JN, saying if the Kings go on a 10-game win streak at any point during the season, will I shave my head as well? I would like to commit to both.
Okay.
But I'm still going to just honor the 5th seed for now, I think.
And this is full-on shave? This is not a buzz cut. This is I want to be able to see myself in your head.
No, I'm sorry. I cannot go wax on, wax off. There will be a little bit of hair left. I'll shave it as much as I can get, or as close down as I can get. But yeah, no full on bald. Can
we draw some lines on it and make it look like a basketball?
Sure, why not?
Oh man. All right, welcome in everybody. Let's talk about some Kings basketball here. First off, I guess we might as well start out with this box score, right? As you can see, the Memphis Grizzlies, Dylan Brooks, 26 minutes, 11 points. Steven Adams, 24 minutes, 12 points, 11 rebounds, 22 for Ja Morant in 32 minutes. I mentioned 31 for Desmond Bane here. Then you had 14 points off the bench for Tyus Jones. Looking here at the Sacramento Kings, Domantas Sabonis, 11 points, 10 rebounds, and 31 minutes of action. 20 points for Harrison Barnes, Calvin. This is a guy that's averaging 7 points per game in the last 3. He explodes for 20 tonight. It's not enough for the Sacramento Kings. I mentioned 18-7 for Keegan Murray, 27 points for De'Aaron Fox, and 7 points for Kevin Huerter. He goes out at halftime, goes to the locker room just before half, ends up coming back and starts the second half, but only plays 19 minutes in this game. And also, I forgot to throw in there, Domantas Sabonis, 9 assists tonight, almost a triple-double for him. And looking here at the bench, Malik Monk, 15 points in 22 minutes, including an amazing dunk, an alley-oop thrown by De'Aaron Fox. He also threw into Fox in this game, and I'm screaming, start Malik Monk. Calvin, what do you think? Should we start Malik? Because I'm ready, dude. I was ready 5 years ago.
I don't know if that'll solve every problem. I highly doubt it. I mean, I wouldn't be upset or be screaming, at the TV if I saw Malik Monk start. But I think the issue is not one individual position here. It's that this team still doesn't really know who they are. They're having a real trouble or a real hard time figuring it out. The rotations, the lineup, whether it's the starters or the bench. I'm seeing a lot of comments in the chat here about the bench is the issue. I don't know if it's necessarily the actual players on the bench. It's just that this team doesn't really know. They're still trying to figure everything out. Mike Brown clearly doesn't have a good idea of who to go to in certain situations, who to go to first off the bench. It's a different guy every night, and he's got to kind of figure that stuff out on the fly here. There's not really much, I would say, outside of practice that is going to fix that sort of issue. But look, there's a lot of reasons why they lost this game. It's not one player. It's not starting one player that didn't. They got killed on the boards. It's always the same story when they play Memphis. A lot of teams try to get to the basket, right? But there are a few teams that are as good at getting downhill and attacking the rim as the Memphis Grizzlies. They were one of the best rebounding teams in the league last year. Steven Adams absolutely manhandled Sabonis on the boards tonight. So many second chance opportunities. That's a huge reason why the Kings lost this game.
Yeah, I agree. And, one thing I was thinking about while I was watching this game, and don't get me wrong, I like Sabonis. I like the acquisition, all that. But I was thinking to myself, the Kings are not going to be a good team until Domantas Sabonis is their third best player. I think that he really has to be that third guy, maybe the Draymond Green role on this team. Yes, they're much different players, but I'm just saying in terms of they need to have another guy step up. Is that going to be Keegan Murray? I know a lot of Kings fans are very hopeful. Some people already consider Keegan Murray the best player in the Kings. I obviously do not. I still think that title belongs to De'Aaron Fox. But I think that we need somebody else to step up. If the Kings are going to be a good team, Sabonis has got to be the third best player. And this is not a 10-10-10 guy. I need a 20-10 Sabonis to be the third best player.
Well, if Sabonis is averaging 20 and 10 and he's the third best player on the team, the Kings are going to be in great shape. I mean, there's no secret about that. Sass, I'm definitely being a little critical of Sabonis' play tonight. I didn't think that he played horribly. In fact, I thought they got him off to a really great start, which is something that I was looking for tonight. He's struggled offensively, at least scoring, early on in the season. I thought they did a great job of having him run the floor, leaking out. They were looking to get him the ball ahead, run on the break early, and it got him some easy baskets. But his biggest problem this season has been foul trouble, which, again, not always his fault, like you pointed out, or like people have pointed out in the chat. Switching, the Grizzlies run a lot of motion, a lot of screens. They're a great bounce pass team in the pocket for that pick and roll, so they really, really get good looks at the rim, and Sabonis is not always going to be the guy in the middle there. But he's the best rebounder on this team. And, look, when you play a team like Memphis, you have to commit fully all five guys to crashing the boards every time. It's not one guy, but he's the guy that I'm going to look to first and foremost, guarding Steven Adams and being a phenomenal rebounder. That's what he's been his whole career.
Yeah, man, that's tough. What's up, Key Kings? Good to see you here. Sass says Sabonis was +7, one shy of a triple-double. Yeah, I mean, the Kings just need to get a little bit more scoring here, and they need to play some defense. They allow 125 points in this game. I also see somebody in the chat here saying, it's been a tough schedule. Oh, it's Sass. Again, we played 4 tough opponents, which, I mean, I get that. I understand. I was kind of in the same boat talking about that. But, we got a loss here to the Clippers by 2 points. And you mentioned it to me, Calvin. You sent me a text earlier. You're like, the Clippers just lost to the Oklahoma City Thunder 2 games in a row. This is a team that
back-to-back nights
doesn't have high hopes for the season. Yes, they have SGA and a couple other young guys, but they just lost their first round draft pick for the entire season. They're, I think, arguably one of the favorites, or at least were at the start of the year, to win the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes. And the Clippers are losing to them. Why can't the Kings get a W, Calvin?
Well,
36 points for Fox in that game.
Yeah, Yeah. Absolutely. We've all talked about the schedule. It's been a really tough start to the schedule. And again, I still think I'm going back to the fact that this team has a lot of new players. They're playing a different style than they have in the past couple of years. They have more options offensively, I think, than they've had in the past couple of years. And it takes time to balance that out and figure it out. And then, of course, defensively, they're still a ways away from where they need to be, but that's been an issue for them, almost as long as you and I have been alive, Barry.
Yeah, very, very true. Did you see Steven Adams get hit in the nuts again in this game? That, what they call it, offensive foul on Keegan Murray. They challenged it. It was unsuccessful. Steven Adams was in the restricted area. Dude, I'm honestly surprised this guy has any balls left at this point. We saw him get hit multiple times by Draymond Green. What'd you think about that play? Was that an offensive foul?
I didn't like the call personally. I mean, Keegan Murray goes into his shot form before Steven Adams gets there. I thought he was a little bit late to the play. It's unfortunate. I didn't really like the way the game was officiated as a whole. I thought there was way too much allowing the offensive player to initiate contact and drawing fouls. More so, I would say, for Memphis, but they really officiated it both ways, and I think that was a similar sort of play.
Yeah. Key King says, if you want to be a playoff playing team, then you need to beat the good teams. We are supposed to have at least one win right now. No excuses. Yeah, I mean, you'd hope for one win, maybe 2 wins. Mike Brown has stressed that this is a marathon. It's not a sprint, right? We have a new coach. We got some new players out here. They're still trying to figure it out. We played a tough schedule, kind of all those things. Maybe you can't point to like one thing that is the reason why, but there is a accumulation of things that, ends up in an 0-4 record for the Sacramento Kings right now. And next up is the Miami Heat. Not a bad team at all. This is really tough, Calvin. This is tough. I did not expect the Kings to start out 0-4 or potentially 0-5 here on this season. This is rough, man. This is really, really rough. If you're Mike Brown and you're going in the locker room after this game, what are you telling your squad?
Well, look, I think you have to say, unfortunately, all the cliche things, right? Like we got to keep our heads up. We still need time. We're going to get better every day in practice. We like the group that we have here. We're still kind of figuring things out. They didn't shoot the ball very well today. They'll shoot it better from 3 in the future because they have some really solid shooters on this team. But yeah, they've got to get better on the defensive end. They've got to get better committing to rebounding. And the lineup that they play, at least the starters, I mean, Harrison Barnes is a good rebounder for a wing player. Keegan Murray is a solid rebounder for a wing player. But when you play the teams like the Memphis Grizzlies that just are relentless on the glass, that's a huge weakness for the Kings. So it just is something that they have to look at, I think, in terms of what the lineup is going to be like, and maybe Richaun Holmes needs to get some more minutes. I'm not sure what the answer is right now.
Yeah, Tito says, just wait till we get a fair schedule and the Kings are going to win those games. Tito, man, I love the enthusiasm from you, but, it's the Western Conference. It's the division, right? Are the Kings going to get moved to the Eastern Conference when we had some expansion teams? Probably not. They're kind of
stuck. It's not like it would be much easier in the Eastern Conference anyway.
They're kind of stuck with the schedule they've given. And I mean, dude, let's look at this schedule real quick. We'll talk about, the Heat game kind of towards the end of the stream here. But I mean, you look at this schedule, it doesn't really get much easier. Maybe you got a game against Charlotte, then you're right back against Miami. You have maybe a chance to breathe against Orlando, and then you play Golden State, Cleveland. You got the Lakers, Golden State again. Maybe San Antonio and Detroit is like a moment here where maybe you can catch your breath, which is almost 3 weeks away at this point. This schedule doesn't really seem to lighten up here. I'm looking at this, and maybe this, Detroit, Charlotte, you got LA and Washington, a 4-game stretch, but this isn't even until the middle of December, which the middle of December, teams might already be making some trades here. So, I mean, do you see any running room here for Sacramento?
Well, no. Look, I think the NBA is entering a new era as a whole, where there's more parity, or there's going to be more parity across the board than we've seen in this league in a long time. There's so much good young talent that's pretty evenly dispersed throughout the league at this point. The days of the super teams and the dynasties, I mean, yes, Golden State still has a great chance to win this year. Milwaukee is still a really, really solid team that just won a title. But I think you're going to slowly see those things fade away, over the next few years. There's not really an easy portion of anybody's schedule anymore. I mean, even any team can win on any given night, right? But there's a lot of really, really good teams in this league. And that's, again, one of the things that I said repeatedly this summer is that, yes, the Kings did get better, but so did 75% of the Western Conference, and they were already better than the Kings before that. So this is not an easy situation to climb out of, and obviously we're seeing that right now with the 0-4 start.
Yeah, shout out to Jeff the lefty here. He's already getting sick. He's sitting courtside. He's puking everywhere. I mean, you look at the schedule, I would say that it does open up a little bit towards the end of the year, beginning of next year, right? You got Utah, then a tough game against Memphis, Utah again, maybe a tough game against Atlanta.
Utah's tied for first in the West right now.
Yeah, that ain't going to last, Calvin. I'll bet your hair on that one if you'd like.
Oh, man, no, I'm not taking that bet.
And then you got Atlanta here, and then it opens up a little bit, right? The Lakers, Orlando, you got 2 games against Houston, which you remember we had 2 games against Houston last year towards the end of the year, which we were excited for, and I believe they either split those or lost both of those games. Yeah. Then you got San Antonio, LA, you got Oklahoma City. So, I mean, I'm loving this stretch in, the middle to beginning of January. Maybe we can make it to one of those games, which is kind of convenient, right? That's, a couple weeks before the trade deadline. So, if the Kings can't get some wins during that time, they definitely need to make some adjustments. But this is a tough schedule, man. You're playing in the Western Conference. And, I got to go back to what some people are saying here in the chat. And you and I have been talking about all offseason long is if you want to be a good team, you got to beat good teams. You can't rely on getting the easy schedule. We all want to be the guy that's playing against the last place guy in fantasy football every week that forgot to set his lineup. And, he's got a couple guys on injured reserve like Jamar Chase, like me. But, you can't always get that. You got to show up. You got to be a good team. Calvin, I'm going to start a petition, dude. I want to start Malik Monk. I know I said this at the beginning of the stream. I'm going to double down on this. I think the Kings need to start Fox, Monk, potentially Herter, Keegan Murray, and Sabonis, and bring HB off the bench. Maybe you alternate between Herter and Barnes depending on the matchup. But, dude, I love the chemistry that I saw tonight from Monk and Fox. And, there was a little stretch there in the third quarter where I got a little excited in this game, Calvin, and I was like, oh, maybe the Kings could make it happen. And, that's kind of what the Kings do. They make me feel like I have a chance, and then they rip my fucking heart out every single time. But let's start Monk, dude. Send him out there. We can't
I'm
play
okay
defense
with that.
anyways.
I don't think that, exactly. I don't think you can afford to start Herter and Monk together. That team's just not going to get enough stops, and this team already doesn't get enough stops. So that's a tough one for me. But
I mean, what are you doing? Are you sticking with the same lineup? You got another lineup? I saw someone in the chat here said who can we start next to Sabonis to protect the rim? I think it was Key Kings.
Well, that person doesn't play on this team. They don't have a real solid rim protector, right? That person's not walking through the door. So your option is either to go with more height and more size and start, Holmes, or I don't know, man. They've got a lot of guys that they think can play. The question is, what's the right combination? At this point, I know for a fact I need Murray, Fox, and Sabonis starting. Outside of that, I'm not really sure what the move is here with this team.
PK wants
I
Cousins.
still like KZ. I know he doesn't bring anything offensively, but look, he's got the size, he's got the versatility defensively, he's a good rebounder, and he brings energy and effort on defense. He needs to learn to be better at playing without fouling. I mean, some of that is the new opportunities he's getting, right? He's not used to guarding Damian Lillard, right at the start of a game. But I still, for a team that is so bad defensively, I still like what he can bring for this squad.
Jeff, Kevin Huerter played 19 minutes in this game. He went out right before halftime. It looked like he, had a collision and potentially maybe bruised his thigh or hurt his left knee or something. He ends up returning and starts in the second half, but doesn't play much. He plays 19 minutes in the game, scores 7 points, 3 of 8 from the field, 1 of 4 from three-point range. Definitely not shooting like we saw him on opening night. Quite unfortunate. PK wants to bring Cousins back. What do you think about Cousins? Not really known as a rim protector, but a fan favorite, I guess, huh?
Well, fan favorite maybe, but he's not helping this team win. I don't see any reason why you would sign DeMarcus Cousins at this point. Maybe
PK is DeMarcus's burner account. I don't know. All right, I want to take a look here at the bench. We'll pull it up here. We can kind of do some analyzing here. Chemezi, Metu, 14 minutes off the bench, 2 points, 1 of 4. You think Chemezi is kind of a rim protector? You like his athleticism out there, or what do you think?
I love his athleticism, yes, but he just is way too inconsistent for me. And defensively, he has the tools to be good. For a guy with his length, his size, his athleticism, I think he moves his feet pretty well for a guy his size, but he just gets lost way too easily on defense. And it's the constant lack of attention to detail, effort, all that stuff that is not making him a consistent rotation player, aside from his offensive inefficiencies.
Chima Monecki, 6 minutes for him, 0 points. This was late, kind of garbage time. KZ, your guy, only 1 minute for him tonight. Interesting there. I mentioned, 22 minutes for Malik Monk off the bench, 15 points for him, 11 for Terrence Davis, 12 minutes, 7 points for Davion Mitchell. He's the guy I was wondering about, dude. I was watching this game. I'm like, what's going on with Davion? What happened to him? This guy ended last season so strong. Obviously, he had a much, bigger opportunity. The Kings brought in some more wings and some more guards this offseason, which, definitely impacts Davion's minutes. But, what are your thoughts on Davion Mitchell at this point? Because I can sense a lot of Kings fans are getting a little impatient with Davion. They want to see more from him. But does he really have the opportunity?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I have to reiterate what I said. I forget if it was after the first game or going into the second or third game, something like that. But Davion, I'm not sure how much better, if in fact he got better over the offseason. And I don't know if you're going to be able to see it because there just are so many more options on this team now. And Mike Brown is still, we've talked so much about how he's using the bench and having to learn who he can trust in certain situations, who he likes playing with certain guys. That's all hurting Davion, who had, once we got halfway through the season and guys got hurt or the Kings were losing games and he had to play a bigger role, he had the ball in his hands a lot more and he was asked to be a go-to scorer. Davion, his whole progression through his basketball career, he's been really good at getting his own shot, but he's never really been, the true playmaker or the guy to set things up for other players. That's kind of what he looks to be, they're asking him to do right now. I think it's a totally new situation for him, and just the opportunities aren't there as much as they were last year, which is why he, A, looks lost, and B, isn't putting up big numbers because he just isn't in the same types of situations.
Yeah, that's kind of another reason why I'm considering starting Malik Monk. Sorry, my dog is pissed that the Kings lost tonight, so she's letting me know here. But another reason why I am really considering starting a guy like Malik Monk is because I want Davion to be one of the first guys off the bench. And I love what Monk brings to this team. So I feel like if you move him into the starting lineup, that maybe opens up some more minutes for Davion. Of course, somebody's going to suffer, right? Because not everybody's getting all these minutes. There's only so many to go around. But I honestly would love to see Davion being, maybe 1 or 2 off the bench. Any thoughts on that? And then I want to dive into KZ and what your thoughts are on, where he was tonight. Why did he only get 1 minute?
I don't know. I mean, I think that because of how he started the season, Mike Brown obviously talked him up so much defensively. And then he gets in foul trouble early in these games, and he brings pretty much nothing to the table on offense. I mean, they're leaving him open in the corner. If he can just knock down, 1 or 2 of those here and there, that's the way that he gets himself into the rotation more. But I also think it's just there's been this big question mark of who should start and who should play, who's the first guy off the bench. So he's experimenting with this lineup so much, Mike Brown is, that when you have a guy who really is unproven so far in his NBA career, he might slide a little bit further down to the bench. And that could change tomorrow or the next day. You don't know, right? Like, they're searching for answers at this point. And in terms of Davion Mitchell getting more opportunity if you start Malik Monk, I like you said, there's so many mouths to feed right now. I don't see how bringing Monk into the starting lineup means more minutes or more opportunity for Davion, because that just means you're sending another starter back down to the bench. It doesn't really change anything for Davion.
Yeah, I mean, it's really tough, man. You try and stay centered, not get too high, get too low, but as the losses start to stack up here, my thinking changes a little bit, right? Over the past few weeks, I've been like, okay, we got to be patient. We got to kind of build this team slowly. They need chemistry. Now I'm watching this game tonight and I'm like, this guy needs to be traded. We need to bring in another guy. We need to make some stuff happen. Maybe the Kings have too many good players, right? Would that make sense? They have too many good players, not enough great players. So maybe, if things continue down this path, you need to trade some of your good players to get more great players and open up, more minutes for a guy like Davion.
Well, I wish it was as easy as just trade good players and get great players. I don't see that as being a realistic option for a team that's 0-4. But, yeah, I mean,
that's what Cleveland's been doing, Calvin. That's what Cleveland's exactly been doing.
Cleveland is not doing that. They've been building this for years, and they've been using other assets, right? They've given away draft picks, all of that stuff that the Kings haven't, necessarily. It's comparing apples and oranges, those two situations. But look, this is a similar problem to what we talked about last year. Coming into the season, everybody was hyped about the fact that the team was really deep, right? We heard Luke Walton in the past say we've got 12, 13 guys that we love and we feel like can play. It is hard to get into a rhythm when you're constantly doing hockey lineup changes like that and rotating 5 guys in, 5 guys out, things like that. So when you combine that with a new head coach, a new system, and a bunch of new players, this stuff takes time. It just does. I get it. Everybody's frustrated. Yes, at some point you do have to win games. But it doesn't happen instantaneously like that, especially when you play 4 of the better teams in the league your first 4 games.
Yeah, I agree. I just want to remind everybody that's watching right now, hit that like button. Calvin and I are here. We're just fans. We're having fun. Kings are losing games. We're up here talking about it. It definitely hurts, but it's fun. We're Kings fans. We like to spread the love, and we like to give you all a voice. So we get paid in likes. So please hit that like button. We greatly appreciate it. We saw Mike Brown's coaching style, a little bit tonight with some early timeouts. We saw one right after halftime. We saw one earlier in the game where the Kings, weren't doing exactly what he liked, and he didn't hesitate to call that early timeout. We also saw that with Alvin Gentry, right, where he wasn't afraid to, call an early timeout, stop things, prevent things from getting out of control. JVD has got a good question here. Why did Mike sub out Keegan for Metu so early in the game? This is Keegan's first professional game starting in the pros for the regular season. Any thoughts on why else you think he was subbed out early?
I'm not really sure. I think that's a very valid question. I thought Keegan was subbed out prematurely multiple times in this game. Look, I cannot say enough good things about Keegan Murray. He has lived up to the hype. I already had him being very, very high in terms of hype coming in. I love the fit on this team. He's just the perfect type of NBA player today, like a versatile long wing that has a beautiful stroke from outside, has to make people respect his outside shot, but also has the ability to put it on the floor, get to the basket, and things like that, and is a versatile defender. So I definitely love Keegan Murray. I think he needs more minutes, and I'm pretty confident that he will, grow and get more minutes as the season goes along. But yeah, I definitely feel as if he was prematurely taken out of the game more than once tonight.
PK says Russell Westbrook for Sabonis. You doing that trade?
I am not doing that trade.
Shout out to two, and also shout out to Sean. We got some OGs here. Thank you guys for joining in. Another tough loss for the Sacramento Kings. If you're just joining in right now, the Kings lose tonight 125-110 to the Memphis Grizzlies. That's right, no Jaren Jackson. He's still out. The Grizzlies are killing it. 31 points for Desmond Bane tonight, 27 for De'Aaron Fox. We got to see Keegan Murray start tonight, and we got to see some exciting alley-oops from De'Aaron Fox to Malik Monk, and Malik Monk returned the favor. So that was pretty exciting, and I'm starting this campaign. Start Malik Monk. I want to see it. He said he wanted to come to Sacramento to turn things around. Let's give him a chance. I know he's short, but give him a chance, man. Give him a chance. Can't play defense anyways. We got another Sean in here, a WN Sean. Sean says, what do you guys think for Miami on Saturday? We got a one-day break. It is at home. Calvin, what are your thoughts on this game? Miami's predicted to win, as always, right? Victor Oladipo is out.
Yes.
Yurt7 is out. Ex-Sacramento King Dwayne Dedmon is out. So far, no injured players for the Sacramento Kings. However, maybe Kevin Huerter doesn't play in this game. He didn't get many minutes tonight, only 19, had an injury. What are you thinking about Miami?
Well, look, I mean, you'd be crazy to love this game, right? If you're the Kings, we're talking about a team that's really, really good defensively. Definitely spreads the floor out. They've got matchup problems all over, and Bam is Bam right in the middle. So it's going to be a tough game. Do the Kings have a chance to win? Yeah, of course they do. But I'm not feeling great about it.
Oh, man. What another loss, man. This is crazy, dude. This is crazy. When do you think the losing streak ends here? Because this is... They get Charlotte
on Halloween night. Is that right?
They had two 6-game losing streaks. Was that last year or the year before? I can't even keep track anymore. But yeah, they could potentially, if they lose to Miami, they're playing Charlotte. You're right, on Halloween. Hopefully we don't go for 6 again. Charlotte can't play defense. I think they allowed 130 something points again tonight in overtime. But yeah, we got to get some wins here. So question for you, Calvin, because everyone's talking about, we need rim protection, right? Sabonis can't play the center. He needs a rim protector that plays next to him. Well, Indiana had a rim protector. They played next to him by the name of Miles Turner, 3-and-D guy. He could shoot threes, was, I believe he led the league in blocks at one point. Why don't you think that worked? And why should something like that work in Sacramento? Is there a prototypical big rim protector you think that fits better with Sabonis than a guy like Miles Turner?
Well, I mean, the easy answer is there has to be, right? Because it didn't work in Indiana. There's probably a long list of reasons why they weren't a good team. It's not just because Sabonis and Miles Turner played next to each other. But, we heard Miles Turner say during last year when they were going through the fire sale in Indiana that he wanted a bigger role. He didn't want to play that same type of role next to a guy like Sabonis. So bringing him in, I don't know if there's a stereotypical type guy you need, but look, it's you either have to have the perfect small ball lineup that can switch everything, plays really, really intense on-ball defense, and is great at limiting drives to the basket, right? Because if you are playing small, you have to find a way to wall off lanes and not make it easy for guys to get inside where you don't have that rim protection. The Kings don't have that, so maybe you have to try to find somebody that is able to protect the rim. I don't know if there's one person out there that I would say that's exactly who they need. It's a very fine line, right? You have to kind of get lucky a little bit and find these guys like Rudy Gobert who are able to protect the rim and make up for the fact that teams try to take advantage with a smaller lineup. So that's not an easy thing to find in this league. There are certainly a lot of guys that you could maybe think would be a good option or try to roll out there. Mo Bamba's name comes up all the time when you talk about the Kings. I don't know if he'd be available, but it's tough.
Hassan Whiteside?
I don't really know right now I don't want Hassan Whiteside. That's not somebody that I'm looking to, but it's tough.
How many likes do you think we need on this video to turn this thing around and beat Miami on Saturday?
Oof. Well, we got 58 people watching right now, so I'll say at least 58.
At least 58 likes. I mean, not everyone's going to like it, right? You can't get everybody agree to like everything, but I'm thinking 50
well,
likes
you're talking
on this
about
video.
what we need for the Kings to beat Miami. We need a lot. We need a lot of likes for that to happen.
Everybody smash up that like button. Do it. Do it now. Oh, man. That's crazy, dude. I still can't believe that was an offensive foul on Keegan Murray. I thought that was a bunch of BS, man. I mean, I feel bad.
I agree, and I'm even more surprised that the challenge it wasn't overturned after the challenge. It seemed like a pretty simple call to me, but I don't know. I'm not an NBA ref, so
these new rules, these new refs, who knows? So let's pretend that Kevin Huerter is Huerter right now, and he's not available for Saturday. Who are you starting? What's your starting lineup going to look like against the Miami Heat? Because, they do play small ball. However, they do have a great rim protector in Bam Adebayo. So, what's your starting lineup? What are you going with?
Well, I'm probably going to stick with the lineup that they had today. I mean, outside of Bam, the Heat love to spread it around with a bunch of three-point shooters, just like the Kings do. So I'm keeping those wing defenders in there, Barnes and Murray. I guess the question is, do you decide to start Monk over Huerter? I've liked what I've seen out of Huerter. I mean, he's not the best defender in the world, but neither is Malik Monk.
Well, if he's
Herter's
not available, if he's
much
injured,
more,
right?
Maybe we'll see. But if he's healthy enough to play, I think he's been more consistent offensively so far. So I'd probably still give him the nod.
I mean, you could start KZ. The Kings actually shot the three ball horrendously in the first half of this game. They finally turned around a little bit, started making some shots in the third quarter, and I think that helped them. But they were actually able to stick around without shooting the three ball well in the first half. Not as close as I'd like them to be. But, they were still in it. We only saw Richaun Holmes play 8 minutes tonight. Didn't take a single shot, 0 points, 1 rebound. What are your thoughts now on Richaun Holmes? Because, you and I were touting him as probably the best, backup center in the league if he wasn't going to be starting for the Kings. Only 8 minutes. Like I said, didn't take a shot in this game, 1 rebound. What's going on with Richaun Holmes? Are the Kings hurting his trade value at this point, or is he just not doing it for Mike Brown?
I think he's just not not playing consistent minutes with Fox or Halliburton really hurts Richaun, right? His game is so dependent on a guard being able to get him the ball in the right spots to get an easy look at the rim, whether that's a lob or a quick dump down where he can do the turn over the left shoulder hook shot or the push shot after a defender is kind of slid off of him because they're worried about somebody like Fox or Tyrese getting in the lane for an easy look at the basket. He just doesn't have those same opportunities playing with the second unit right now that he did last year as a starter or coming off the bench with either one of those guys, because those two dominated the minutes at the guard position, really, and they were both so good at being able to get him those looks at the rim. Davion Mitchell is not that guy. And they don't really have another, true point guard other than Dellavedova to come off the bench. So I think it's a combination of him, being asked to play a different role and not having the right pieces around him.
Yeah, I think DJ Fresh has got a good take here in the chat. He says, need to get their bigs in foul trouble. I think that's really, really
absolutely
important, right? If
absolutely. Well, their guy off the bench, Dwayne Dedman, is out as of right now for this game, right? So if you can get Bam in foul trouble, that's going to give Sabonis a huge advantage.
Yeah, I mean, if you're the Kings and you don't have a rim protector, like, try and get rid of the other team's rim protector, right? To try and even it out. That's a good take. I like that. That was a great take. Jeff the lefty, shout out to Jeff, says, I hate KZ's game. Jeff, what do you hate about his game? And Calvin, you got any responses to that? I mean, KZ's not an offensive juggernaut. What is there to hate?
He's definitely not. He as of right now, you're not going to rely on him for much of anything offensively, other than you hope he can hit one of those open corner threes that he's going to get, and maybe better off the ball movement, looking for a backdoor cut or something for an easy basket at the rim. But look, I just have to keep going back to the fact that this team sucks defensively, and he can guard. He can guard multiple positions. Like I said, he needs to be better at guarding without fouling. I mean, I think the whole team could probably take that pill, for a bunch of time. But man, if I know I've got a guy out there that can play defense as a coach, that's a huge thing for me personally.
Yeah, man. We need some more defense. Sass says the Grizzlies scored 125 in the second lowest game of the season, with Bane going crazy from three. So I guess the Kings did play a little bit of defense tonight. This is tough, right? Because
they are better than they've been, but they're still not good enough.
Yeah,
that's just a fact.
Exactly, and it's hard, right? We're making all these assumptions after 4 games against 4 good teams. Memphis is 3-1. I believe they had, what was it, the third best or second best record in the West last year?
Second.
Yeah, they're missing Jaren Jackson Jr., but this team is a great team, right? And the Kings are just trying to become a good team. So it's really, really hard to, kind of make assumptions and make adjustments. If you're us, imagine what it's like for Mike Brown when you're like, okay, we held Memphis to 125. We're 0-4 now. What are we going to do? What kind of adjustments are we going to make in the future? It's really hard to learn from a lot of these games. However, I do have to say, one thing that really irritated me in the first half of this game is it just seemed like the Kings didn't really know what they were doing on offense. I didn't see a lot of good plays run. It seemed kind of like a lot of scrambles, or the plays breaking down and you're trying to make something work late in the shot clock, as opposed to Memphis. The ball movement was great. You could tell that these guys had played together for a while. Of course, it helps when you're knocking down threes, but it just seemed like a whole different league offensively when you watch Memphis in the first half versus Sacramento. And I was surprised the Kings were only down 7 at halftime in this game, because one thing we were raving about in the preseason was the ball movement and all that stuff. I did not see a lot of that in the first half. Do you think that was because Memphis was taking that away from Sacramento, or maybe Sacramento's a little frustrated here?
Well, Barry, I disagree with you. I felt like the ball movement was good, especially in the first quarter. They had a bit of a lapse in the second quarter, but they were able to get back, or at least cut the lead down they had an opportunity to keep it to what? It was like 4 or 5 or something like that until the Grizzlies hit that 3 right before halftime. I think it was Bane. But I thought they were getting good looks. They just didn't hit a lot of their shots. They didn't shoot well at all from 3 today. Keegan Murray started off great, but I think he ended 3 of 8 or something like that. I liked the ball movement. I liked the looks they were getting. I felt like they just didn't convert on a lot of their open shots.
They made Steven Adams look like a top 5 center. Ooh, this is a good one, Calvin. You think Steven Adams top 5 center?
I do not think Steven Adams is a top 5 center. I think Steven Adams is a very valuable player on a really good team, though, which is exactly what he is for this Memphis team.
Yeah, PK, dribble, turnover. That's what it felt like in the first half for me. The Kings they doubled up Memphis in turnovers. Maybe they just were passing the ball around, but they didn't take care of the ball. It just seemed lost. They seemed lost on offense. Obviously, to me, like maybe they were passing the ball a little bit, but I couldn't really like identify any set plays or anything like that. I don't know, man. I think the lights were too bright for Sacramento tonight.
I think the Memphis Grizzlies are just probably one of the 5 to 6 best teams in the NBA, and they're a horrible matchup for the Sacramento Kings. That's what I think this game comes down to. The Kings have been a really bad rebounding team over the past few years, 4 or 5, and the Grizzlies are one of the best rebounding teams in the league, especially on the offensive glass. That's a huge deficiency to overcome if you're the Kings. Yep. And if you shoot 31% from 3, you can't make up for that difference. So it's tough. Like,
yeah, great point.
The Grizzlies are a really well-constructed team, like you just said. They're amazing at attacking the rim. They have great shooters on top of that. They're an incredibly hard team to guard, and that's why they were one of the highest-scoring teams. They were either number 1 or number 2 in the league last year in scoring.
Yeah, great point. The offensive rebounds totally killed Sacramento tonight. And, you look at the box score at the end of the game, it's 11-9, which seemed pretty even. However, I think they were kind of situational, right? Where it was like Memphis gets 3 shots on a possession until something goes in, they hit a 3, and it kills the momentum for Sacramento. So, yeah, it was tough, man. It was tough. And you mentioned the shooting, 42% from three-point range tonight for Memphis, only 31 for Sacramento. That's a big difference. That's 15 points right there, Calvin, which is the difference in the game. So, really unfortunate. Kings got to shoot better. They got to play better. They got to play better defense. Shout out to Brian. What's up, Brian? You just got home from the game. How was the atmosphere in Golden One? I'd like to hear from you. We lost, but are people still excited? Because I hope so. Shout out to Ricky here. Ricky says, I don't know why people love Herter so much. He's getting killed on defense. It's ugly. I agree. He has been getting killed on defense. Any suggestions for Mike Brown here on how to help Kevin out there?
Well, that's tough, man. I mean, look, when you're a bad individual defender that plays on a team that's not a great team, doesn't have great team defense, and you don't have a real solid rim protector, somebody that's going to cover your ass when you keep letting people blow by you, there's not much else you can do at that point. Defense is about effort, wanting it, intensity, all that stuff, and being on the same page, right? Which, again, this team has a lot of new faces, and that stuff takes time, chemistry, all that sort of stuff. But there's no easy fix for an individual wing defender that's not very good.
Yeah, and it's hard to hide them, like you said, when you don't have a lot of good team defenders on this squad. Brian says lots of people there, pretty pumped up atmosphere. Seemed like our guys were trying hard. I bet that De'Aaron Fox dunk was pretty exciting, and that Malik Monk one. Those were probably pretty exciting in person. Shout out to Afghan. I see him, old school supporter of the channel. Good to see you here. That's been the story of the Kings the last 16 years. Any top 16 to 20 team in the league is a bad matchup. That's usually the way it is when you're not a very good team. I would not call the Memphis Grizzlies a top 16 to 20 team in the league, but I get where you're going with this, right? When you're the Kings and you're not playing well at all, any team looks good against you at this point, right? I'm really excited to see how the Kings look against Charlotte, because Charlotte is probably going to give us a measure offensively on how well the Kings can play. If they shoot bad against Charlotte, we're in big trouble, Calvin.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't even know if LaMelo is going to play or not, but they can still put up a ton of points even without him. So
I'm glad we got so many excited Kings fans here in the chat. We're 0-4 right now, but we're not out. We're Sacramento Kings fans. We're going to die Sacramento Kings fans, and we're dying tonight. So quite unfortunate, but hey, at least you guys are still rooting for your team. I really respect that. Fox and Monk, say it one more time, Barry, because it's happening against Miami. Tito, we need 50 likes, dude, if we're beating Miami. We already mentioned this. We need 50 likes on this video if the Kings have any chance in Miami. But I want Monk to start in that game, whether Herter's injured or not. Let's put a new guy out there. I love the chemistry between Fox and Monk, and it's just exciting, dude. A small play like an alley-oop dunk to somebody, it may seem really small, but that fires up your teammates. That makes people excited. It gets the crowd into the game. And honestly, that's what this team needs, is they need excitement. They need players that, the players play hard, they try, but it's just a whole nother atmosphere when the fans are totally into the game and you have a big momentum shifting play like an alley-oop dunk or something like that, especially when it comes off a steal like that one was for I believe that was the Monk one. So definitely need some more of those. Steven, shout out to Steven, says, thought Brown was supposed to bring a defensive mindset. Not seeing it, not at all. I realize he's got to work with what he's got, but come on, man, not a sign of D on this team. None, zero. You got any response for Steven, Cal?
Well, I disagree that there's zero sign of defense. I see individual guys working harder out there on defense than I've seen from Kings players in the past, especially recently. De'Aaron Fox would be one of those guys for sure. So I think that, and it's, calling the timeouts when he does, bringing guys together, when they let up a big run or something like that, they've been able to get themselves back in the game, and you do that by getting stops. So I do think that Mike Brown is having a positive effect on the Kings defensively, but it is something that takes a long time. And when you play really, really good offensive teams early in the year, it's going to look like you're terrible, right? And like I've been saying, they need to be better. They're not where they need to be by any stretch. But I do think that the wheels are turning, even if it's very, very slowly.
Yeah, that's the toughest part, right? Like, we've been doing this for a couple seasons now. Losses have always been tough. But I think this year is going to be a test for us, Calvin, because the team has actually gotten better, right? Like, I've been saying it for the past 2 months. This is the best Sacramento Kings team that we've seen in probably 10 years. And that's including, the Cousins, Rondo, Gay team. And I love that team. But, this team has a ton of talent. They have a stacked bench. I love the coach. They just got to make things happen. And unfortunately, I'm going to make some excuses here. We had a tough schedule. We got a rookie in Keegan Murray, who's probably our second or third best player here, is, getting his footing going. But, it's unfortunate that the record doesn't show the improvement that this team has made so far. And I can only imagine what it feels like for a guy like De'Aaron Fox, right? Because he's looking around in the locker room and he's like, I had the best offseason that I've ever had. I have my guy that I wanted in Monk, who's on this team. We brought in an all-star in Domantas Sabonis. We traded a first-round pick for a guy in Kevin Huerter to give us some more shooting. This team is talented, yet we haven't won a single game yet, and we're a week into the season. So I could only imagine how hard this is for the Sacramento Kings. They need to lean heavily on Coach Mike Brown at this point, because this guy has a ton of experience in the NBA. He's been on good teams. He's been on bad teams. He just won a title last year with the Golden State Warriors. And, you know, a lot of people are going to use that against him, and they're going to say, well, he had Curry and you know, Clay and Draymond and all this stuff. Who couldn't win with that team? Well, there's a few people that couldn't win with that team. I'm going to throw, you know, Luke Walton out there. But anyways, you know, this is a tough season for the Sacramento Kings. It really is. I want to know from you, Calvin, if you're Monty McNair and you're looking at this squad right now, you had to be feeling pretty good a week ago, right? Like when, you know, preseason ended, you know, you're like, okay, we're undefeated. I love the rookie we drafted. He's looking great. Everyone's talking about we should trade up for Chet Holmgren. He's out for the year, so I made the right move here. Now you're looking at this team, you're like, okay, we're 0-4. I wasn't expecting to win a lot of games in the first 4 games here because we had a tough schedule, but I didn't expect to be winless at this point. If you are Monty McNair, what are you realistically thinking about this team right now? And, you know, how long do you wait before you do make a move?
Well, how long do you wait? That's a good question. I mean, I think you have to let the games play out, right? If the losing continues, then obviously that's going to put a lot of pressure on him. But if I'm Monty, I'm still feeling confident about the team that I put together. It's about figuring out the rotation, getting some more reps under these guys' belt, getting them to play together a little bit more. It's tough when you haven't made the playoffs for 16 straight years and everybody wants the progression to accelerate faster than it's going. But this team is more talented than the Kings have been in a long time. I think that De'Aaron Fox is playing arguably the best basketball of his career, even though it's a very small sample size. So, you know, I think if you're in Monty's seat, you still have to, I hate to use this phrase, but trust the process at this point.
Yeah, that's a tough phrase there, Calvin, to be using, because I think Philadelphia is still trying to.
It's worked out pretty well for Philadelphia.
I mean, what's
They haven't won a title,
what's their
but-
record right now?
Yes, they're also struggling, but I don't think anybody is saying we need to trade James Harden right now.
True, very true. I don't even know what they're at right now. 1-4, so they got one more win than Sacramento, and they went through that really, really long process. All right, well, let's, you know, we've talked a lot of negative in this stream. I want to kind of end it on a positive note here. What kind of improvements do you want to see from the Sacramento Kings in the next week to hopefully get them back on track here?
I think right now it's about playing a complete game, right? I mean, we've seen flashes on both sides of the ball, flashes of the great shooting from all these different guys that they brought in, you know, to address that issue last season. They just haven't played a full 48-minute game yet. And part of that is tinkering with the lineup, trying to figure out, you know, who nobody really knows whose name is going to get called on any given night. I think that stuff kind of fixes or works itself out, you know, the more games that you play. But I think it just comes down to sticking to what we know we are right now, keeping Fox moving, keeping that his play at a high level. Guys have to knock down open threes. They didn't tonight. That would have definitely changed this game. And then they have to be better defensively and box out and finish possessions getting the rebound. You know, turnovers have been an issue in the past, but I wouldn't say that they're so far this season. I don't think that's a huge issue for them. They only had 13 tonight, which is, you know, right on the edge of it being a bad game, but it's still not egregious, I would say, by any means. So I think it's just about playing a complete game and finally getting that first win. That'll change the mindset of this team so much, just getting that one victory.
Yeah, I agree. Key King says we'll be good. Yeah, we will. Shout out to Alfie, man. What's up, Alfie? Yeah, for me, we got to preach patience right now. Yes, we're 0-4, but it's a week into the season, you know, and you got to be patient. They've added some new pieces. They have a new coach. You know, good teams don't get too high. They don't get too low. So the focus right now is not get too low. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep, you know, the things you worked on in the off season, you know, keep working on those and trust yourself. That's the biggest thing. You got to trust yourself. and you got to trust your teammates. You know, shooters shoot. Sometimes they're in slumps. Sometimes they're not. I like to say that De'Aaron Fox has improved his jumper this offseason. I like to say that every year. But he needs to keep shooting. He needs to be aggressive. And I think the rest of the team is going to follow him. You know, he had 27 points tonight. One of those threes was late. But I need to see De'Aaron Fox lead this team. I want to see Monk start in the next game. The real bummer about this whole thing is 3 out of these 4 games were home games. And, you know, you're expected to win your home games. Now, the Kings haven't been really good at home over the past couple seasons. I believe last year they actually had a better record on the road than they did at home. And they went on an amazing winning streak on the road last year as well. So, you know, you just got to keep doing what you're doing. And, don't get too low. Trust in Mike Brown. Let him steady the ship. We're going to get a win here. I think we win this game on Saturday, Calvin. I really do. And Derek, no, right. Unfortunately, we're not going to be at the game on Saturday. But sorry, Calvin, keep going.
No, that's all I was going to say. I hope you're right.
Yeah.
They need a victory badly.
You want to make a prediction on Saturday's game?
Oh, don't ask me to do that. I'm going to crush everyone's dreams. I'm too much of a realist, Barry. You know that.
All right. I think Sacramento gets a win on Saturday. I think they win this game 117-105. 12-point victory over Miami Heat at home. And then they head out on this road trip with a little bit of swagger from beating Miami and Jimmy Butler. Maybe they'll get some big face coffee on the way. But anyways, I think that's it for us tonight. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Unfortunately, the Kings lose 125-110. Any last words, Calvin, before we let everybody go?
Some breaking news here from Big Mike. Thank you, Big Mike. Appreciate that. But I appreciate everybody else in the chat here that is watching seriously. It's another tough night, but, man, I sure hope on Saturday we get to talk about a Kings win. Everybody will be in a better mood. We'll be celebrating. You'll be drinking 4 beers for the win instead of 4 beers for the loss.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Please don't forget to hit that like button and smash up that subscribe button. We will see you all on Saturday. Peace, guys. Go Kings.